Welcome back to the Open Wide the Doors podcast here at the St. John Paul II Parish Family. I'm your host for today, Erin Wright. And today we're reflecting on something truly beautiful in the life of our parish, our recent Eucharistic procession. So whether you walked in the procession or you watched it go by in the streets of Miamisburg or helped organize the procession or volunteered in any other way, or maybe you were just hearing about it today, we want to unpack what it meant and why it matters. So we're joined today by one of the organizers and someone who has played a huge role in this procession, Mike Pfeiffer, who really helped bring this incredible expression of faith to life. So thank you, Mike, for joining us today and for all the work that you put into making this happen.
You're welcome there.
Yeah. So how are you today? You doing good?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you.
Sure.
So, first off, before we really get into it, what exactly is a Eucharistic procession?
So a Eucharistic procession is a way of bringing Jesus, who's present in the Eucharist, out of the church into the streets. It's a public act of worship. We carry the Blessed Sacrament in a monstrance through the streets, and it's showing the faithful that God is not only just in the church, but also out in the world in their daily lives.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. And I was there at this procession just a couple of weeks ago, and it's so amazing just to have the ability to bring our Lord in the Eucharist to the public, like showing that he is truly present in the Eucharist. And it's not just in our church, we are bringing him to the streets. We brought him to the streets of Miamisburg, making him accessible to anyone and everyone, really. It's truly beautiful. So this is the third year our parish family has had Corpus Christi Eucharistic Procession. We've been doing this for 3 years. How did the idea come about for our parish? I know that there's some in our area.
So the bishops of the United States began discussing in 2021 the concept of a Eucharistic revival. There was some surveys that showed that people did not believe in the real presence. A substantial number of people did not believe in the real presence, and they thought, okay, we need a Eucharistic revival. And so they put together a rough plan over the next few years to have events at the diocesan level in the 2022-23 timeframe, bring it to the parish level the next year, and then have a national Eucharistic procession in Congress in the summer of 2024. So, and you may recall how there were processions from all four corners of the United States that all descended on in Indianapolis. And massive crowds. It came through this area, through a few of the parishes in this area. But as part of that, I thought, okay, what can we do at our level? And, during those years, the Eucharistic processions in this area were starting to increase. And so that's why in early 2024, we planted the seed that said, okay, why can't we do this in our parish? It was part of the national effort. So it really began through, seeds that were planted at the national level. So we researched it, had some discussions, and decided, it's time that we did that. And we can talk, I guess, about why Corpus Christi. I think that's another question later.
Yeah, I had no idea that the Eucharistic revival started in 2021.
That's when the bishops started talking about it. Initially discussed it June 2021, and decided, okay, we start something at the national and diocesan level, and then bring it down and encourage the individual parishes to do something themselves, and then have this Congress. So it was germinating for a few years.
That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't know much about it until 2024, when they were promoting the Eucharistic Congress, and that was so cool that happened. And I honestly didn't know that Eucharistic processions were a thing until about the time that we did our first one at our parish family 3 years ago.
Well, maybe just put in one ancillary item, and that is, it's something I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, and the Knights have been a leader in, organizing and supporting and being part of Eucharistic processions for quite a long time. And they actually have some guidance that's what we ended up using to help guide our, planning efforts for the Eucharistic procession. So the Knights have been doing it with many, parishes around the country, and believe even in the world, but certainly around the country. So and we were able to leverage their leadership and their guidance.
Yeah. And that's so cool. I'm so happy that we have a yearly procession in our parish family. It is one of my favorite things that our parish family does. It's so amazing, so profound, and I love the amount of people that come and just are there to worship our Lord. So when did the planning begin for this procession?
So do you mean the first for the first one or for the more recent one?
Like, how long does it take for you to plan this procession?
Yeah.
Like for this past one?
Well, the fact that we've already done it a couple years meant at least a lot of like, what are we gonna do items were already done before and we just repeated it. What we do have to do though is we first have to get permission to have the event from the city of Miamisburg.
Okay.
The fact that we're going off our property, many of the other parishes in the area, and they stay on their property. They walk around the perimeter. Now, while that's fine for the parish, it's not really the intent of the Eucharistic procession. Where the Eucharistic procession is to bring the real presence out into the streets
Hmm.
to other people. And so to do that, though, you need the coordination of the city, which may be more difficult in other areas. City of Miamisburg has been fantastic. So what we do there is we have to submit an event application and they have to sign off on it, which now it's pretty straightforward that we've done this before and they're familiar with us. But they take it to their Parks and Recreation, to whatever meetings they have and just to get approval. And because they end up, of course, providing the police and Parks and Recreation support, which have been unbelievably fantastic. They've been superb. So we'll typically start that in, say, January, February at the latest. Try to get that in before
Hmm.
Lent so that they can give us approval, say, by March.
Wow.
And that way we know, like, okay, we can get everybody organized because then it's so much is about the prep, getting the points of contact. What I've been blessed with is just having people who they organize the volunteers for the canopy, they organize the volunteers for the Knights of Columbus Color Corps, they organize people to volunteer from safety. We get someone Matt Wiley to do the rosary, organize the altar servers and the clergy. So just getting a point of contact in place, and then they handle the details as far as their individual groups. And that takes, we want to maybe 2 months of lead time on that, just so people can put aside a date on the calendar, and we get the sufficient enough volunteers. So once all that planning is in place, the day itself, pretty much takes care of itself at this point. But so basically planning for each year begins in the January, February timeframe.
Oh, so a lot goes into planning this.
As well. And it's good, in trying to work with the groups. We really try to get a lot of different groups involved. I mean, it's great when we can have participation and each of them have their different role and responsibility, and they feel like, okay, we're part of the bringing Jesus out in the community. Even something like contacting Brenda's Flowers to put in a plug for them in Springboro to collect the rose petals for us. So they start doing that, a month and a half ahead of time, and are able to collect ones that kind of fall down from the flowers. And we have those to pass, which it's a tradition to have rose petals for the Eucharistic procession by, being passed out by the first communicant.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that just get in front of all that stuff a couple months at a time, and then by the time the day comes, everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
Knows what they need to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't in my involvement in the planning, in preparation for the procession, I don't enter into the scene until March, April-ish. And
Right. I mean, and one thing you're pointing out, and forgive me for failing to mention, is just the communications. Let people know that what the date, say the date, let other parishes know. We've also even had we even get St. Michael's Rosary to he takes the flyers and puts one in each of the bags of the people that he sells his products to.
that's so cool.
He's been great. One of our Christians.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great that multiple people are trying to get the word out about this because it's so amazing. It's such a beautiful thing that we have in our faith and that we're bringing Jesus to the streets. It's one of the highlights of the year. And yeah, everyone and anyone should be coming to this. It's so beautiful. Such an amazing event.
So we talk later about relationship to Mass, but it's at Mass we prepare for sharing the good news, but then we're instructed at the end of Mass, go out and tell the good news. I mean, this is one way of doing that.
Yeah. So that's And that's really cool. I'm making some connections now. We have mass at Our Lady of Good Hope, and then immediately after mass, we start the procession.
Correct. I mean, it ties in, of course, very well with what we've done at Mass. The fact that we've already come together for the sacrifice of Jesus to the Father, and participated in that, and now we're bringing that sacrifice out, and then of course, coming back to the church and concluding with benediction. So it's a natural fit in the whole liturgy.
Yeah.
As part of the liturgy, as an extension of the liturgy.
Yeah. It makes it more like it's more spiritual, and it's like bigger than just an event. I keep saying an event, but it's more than an event. It is something truly spiritual. It's truly profound, and it's amazing. And it's
We don't. It's one of a few events and opportunities we have to integrate something outside of the liturgy, right? Because the liturgy is clearly the high point of our faith. It's our way to worship God and to worship the Father with Jesus, and sacrifice ourselves with Jesus. And we don't have an opportunity necessarily to integrate that with some other event. And so whenever we can bring those together, that's a special spirit of sacred.
absolutely. It is fantastic that we do this and that we have this. And then there's some fellowship afterwards. We've historically gotten
Right.
some like cone of ice or a popsicle truck or something like that, and just had some community like
No,
come together.
that's fantastic follow up to that, to then build on that fellowship and shared worship that we have.
Yeah.
To have that afterwards.
Yeah. So, walk us through the day. What was it like from your perspective? A lot of people know that you go to mass, Our Lady of Good Hope, and then you join the procession, and then there's the fellowship that we talked about. But like, what is it like from your perspective?
Well, at that point, I think I mentioned earlier, having already done all the preparation makes that day fairly straightforward. I mean, once we get all the points of contact in place, like have the volunteers, we have a brief rehearsal the evening before. Then the day of, we're just making, going around making phone talk, touching base with each of the points of contact and making sure they're good. Are you good? Because at that point, I'm like, take care of, whatever you got going.
Hmm.
And I'm just there like just the glue to make sure that the timing of the different groups all comes together. And, I suppose the morning of, the only real thing we're doing at that point is putting the canopy together. For you guys, take care of that. And, some folks arrive early that aren't necessarily going to mass, but they're showing up for the procession. So making sure that they're in an appropriate place, ready to join. And then right before it's ready to happen, as mass is concluding, the police, that's when they arrive and have a little brief conversation with the police, make sure that they're good with the route and understand what part of the street are we going to walk on. Sometimes that differs, depends on how they want to handle that morning, but they've been fantastic and they've been very accommodating. And so we make sure that everything's good with them. And then once Father Fox is finished with mass and finished with putting Blessed Sacrament and monstrance, and it starts coming out, then kind of everybody just comes together and there we go. And after that point, from my standpoint, I've been handling the pacing up front, making sure that up front we have the banner leading the procession, and making sure the people holding the banner are going at the pace that supports the priest or deacon that's holding the monstrance. I mean, those are the two that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Because and there's some that go, some priests or deacons that go different paces. I don't want to get too far ahead of them, but I also don't want to go too slow. But so that's at that point, that's pretty much all I do from there on out. Everybody else has, their role and handle it very well.
Yeah, everyone who was involved in planning and participating and helping out with the procession did a fantastic job. It's our each procession, it has run pretty smoothly from my perspective at least, and there hasn't been a major like disruption or something catastrophic that has happened. But yeah, your role in helping to pace, I can imagine that's got to be pretty important, just to make sure that like I know that the priests or the deacons sometimes like switch the monstrance. Like
Sure. We it's blessed to have 4 clergy each the last 2 years. I frankly can't recall the first year. But so since the procession is a 1 mile loop, they essentially take a quarter mile. They decide when they want to switch off. But this year they actually switched without slowing down, which is kind of impressive.
really?
Yeah.
So there's no like stop to
This year it wasn't. They were able to. I think there might have been one time when we slowed down a little bit, but otherwise they just handed it off on the fly. There's usually, because they wear their humeral veils that carry the
Yeah.
monstrance.
Uh-huh.
So there's clergy is wearing the humeral veil, and there's a second clergy wearing a humeral veil ready to take over. And yeah, it's been pretty seamless since they've each taken a quarter mile, two on the first part before we stop, and then two on the second part.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. I can't imagine how heavy that must be to, like, carry that. I also
Uh,
can't imagine, like, the knights who are it's whoever is,
the color
holding
guard, yeah,
yeah,
honor guard.
the, in their when it's middle of June, it's,
Yes,
like,
there were.
hot as can be.
Yes,
Everybody's dressed up in, like, their suits and, like, it's several layers, and
yeah,
there's
they got,
people carrying
yeah.
heavy things, like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, they're much more clothing than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Trying to dress a little lighter. So yes, kudos to them. They give a formality to it that
Mhm.
obviously the Blessed Sacrament deserves, protection.
Absolutely.
They symbolize that formality and protection.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that there is that escort aspect of the Blessed Sacrament,
Hmm.
and, the nights are perfect that, like, we have those councils in our parish family and, like, throughout the Catholic Church. It's really cool that we have those orders that
Yeah, they have the knights have a significant role in any procession that you see. And not only the Eucharistic procession, but in some very significant events, you often see them escorting priests and clergy into Mass. In fact, just last month when they're in the ordination of the new priests, the knights were there to escort all the new soon to be ordained as well as all the priests, but there were the knights escorting in and out. And you'll see them at the funerals, any kind of event that, there is a formality and height to it.
yeah, and it truly, like, expresses the importance of it, and
Correct.
it's not just something casual, it's not just, it's whatever, this is the Blessed Sacrament, this
Mm-hmm.
is a priest who is acting as Christ, it's
Mm-hmm.
super important. So, this past year with the Eucharistic procession, was there a moment that really stood out to you? Maybe this past year, or if there was another year prior that you have a moment that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean it's also blessed. It's hard to pinpoint one. I know that when we stop halfway at, Riverfront Park, and I had this time I was on the opposite side, looking back at the crowd and Father, and that's really just to see everybody there together, focused on the Eucharist, praying the litany of the Blessed Sacrament all together. I mean, that was really special. I mean, that's a special moment that we could celebrate, even though it's maybe a 10-minute stop.
Mhm.
It, I think everybody is so together at that particular moment that I think that this year that stood out to me.
Yeah, it is so cool, and I do love that we have that stop
Mhm.
in the middle of the park. Like, it's people see us walking by, but then there's that moment where we are stopping and we are adoring and worshiping our Lord in public, and it's don't have to be in church. It can be in public, and yeah, it is really cool when everybody can get together, like the people all the way in the back, the people all the way in the front. Everybody's together and praying that prayer together. We handed out sheets. I think we started doing that last year. And that's really cool to have that inclusion, so that everybody can pray along.
And you see people that in town who are watching and noted, they're very reverent. I mean, they are. Yeah, you'll hear the loud
Mhm.
car passing by with their speakers on full
Yeah,
volume.
yeah.
But yeah, to see that there's another procession I go on in October. There's a procession in Cincinnati that's about 3 miles long
Oh, wow.
through, but it goes through on a Saturday morning through Finley Market and over the Rhine. And of course, on Saturday morning in those places, you're passing thousands of people, and
Oh, man.
people are very reverent. You'll see some people praying, you'll see people recording, but it's yeah. So I think people that aren't Catholic, they still see that
Mhm.
reverence and sure there's some curiosity, but at the same time, I think they're very respectful and reverent to the
Mhm.
event.
It really has an impact on people, and no matter if, like, you really know or understand what's happening, You just
Yeah.
see this group of people walking by and praying and worshiping the Lord. And it makes you, I can see how it would make you just kind of stop and like wonder, like, what's happening? Like, what is
Sure.
this? And maybe ask some questions, maybe like spark your interest in Catholicism. And yeah, those people like recording, and it's spreading the word, and the people that are praying, it's like moving something in them. It's
Yeah.
so amazing that we have the ability to bring this to the streets and impact other people.
Yeah. And, there is, and one other thing maybe worth pointing that the people might see is there, the order of it is not coincidental the way we have it all set up. And so to see that it's a well ordered, regularly ordered type of procession,
Mhm,
that, from that standpoint can be like, I think a pretty sacred thing from that standpoint.
mhm. What do you mean by the order? Like the order, like
The,
order, the banner, and then the priest, and
the crucifix and first communicants, and then the incense, the fervor, and buried
yeah,
in the canopy, and then the other clergy, and then the faithful proceeding. And of course, our wonderful safety team with
yeah,
the golf carts.
yeah, helping
Yeah,
everybody come.
tremendous. Well, the last 2 years, especially, I again don't remember the first year, but the last 2 years have been especially warm. And
Yeah,
the safety team has ridden along and passed out water to everyone that needed it,
mhm,
and that's been wonderful.
yeah, yeah. It is. We're so grateful to our safety team.
So yeah, that's an extra thing that just keeps people energized, and if anybody has concerns about the walking, it does help.
Yeah, yeah. So did you notice any reactions from people who weren't expecting the procession, like the people at the restaurants and whatever in Miamisburg?
Some, although we're going through there at a not really busy time, 11:30 on a Sunday, which I'm not sure. I think some of them might open 11 and some of them might open at
Okay.
2. I guess I can't say that I've seen things that were surprising. Like no, so that's one thing I don't notice too much. I mean, I notice people watching, I notice people recording some, I notice some. There will be some praying along.
Mhm. We actually had a few people join the procession.
Did we?
I don't know if you knew that, but I don't know how many people joined us, but there this one gentleman that joined the procession and got talking to someone in the procession, and he was just sharing his story, and
Well,
I
that's
think
great.
they shared it. So yeah, it's like people are seeing this and that. Just, come on, join us,
Sure, sure. Oh, beautiful.
so it's really cool. Yeah, I don't know that I saw many like reactions other than people like, "Oh, what's this?" Like, I'm gonna record this and like,
Yeah. Well, and granted, it's a long procession, right?
mhm,
A couple hundred people. So in front, I can't see the people
yeah,
joining, but when I hear
yeah,
that really touches.
yeah. It's really cool, and we're definitely having an impact on Miamisburg in our community. It's so amazing, so
Mm,
amazing. So why does the church process with the Eucharist, especially on the feast of Corpus Christi? Like we've talked about this a little bit.
mhm.
Like it's important to bring the Eucharistic Lord to our community, but like why particularly on the feast of Corpus Christi?
So Corpus Christi is that feast which honors the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist.
Mm,
Corpus Christi, I believe, is Latin for body of Christ, and so
yeah,
it's recognizing and honoring that real presence. Uh, and it was, I have a little note here that
yeah,
quite a few hundred years, and it was actually came out of a Eucharistic miracle in Italy back in that time. And so but the idea of a procession has been almost the whole time as well. This street processions have been around for a few hundred years. So
wow,
that's that came not long after that feast was instituted. So it's been around a long time. And so Corpus Christi is about bringing Jesus into the street and out of the church.
yeah. That's so cool. I didn't know how long the procession has been around, and I don't know the history
Yeah.
of our church and all of that. I should do more research on that. But a few hundred years, like
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty cool.
I read somewhere about the street processions, 14th century.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you look online, you can see pictures from. I mean, there are some very elaborate street processions. I mean, they have the same basic structure, but there's a lot. There can be a lot more as far as signage, banners.
Hmm.
Colorful. They're pretty elaborate in some parts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's each procession is different and just depends on who's who's organizing it and what
Mhm.
means you have and how many people are going to be there. I'm sure it plays a big part in that. But yeah, the fact that this has like been going on for quite some time. It's not just a new thing.
No.
It this is part of the history of our church, the history of our faith. And that's it's so amazing, and the Feast of Corpus Christi is definitely a great day to bring the Eucharistic Lord to the streets, to the community. But yeah, the Feast of Corpus Christi, the body and blood of our Jesus Christ is a great day for that, just to express the importance of that day as well as the importance of the true presence in the the Eucharist. So it's fantastic. I love this about our faith. So how is the this procession different from simply attending mass? Like we're worshiping the Lord. Um, how is the worship different? I guess.
Well, so at Mass, we worship God, but we also offer ourselves in sacrifice along with Jesus to the Father. Okay, so we're coming together as part of the sacrifice that we're representing, right?
Hmm.
And in other words, we join ourselves to Jesus in his Paschal mystery, right? His suffering, death, and resurrection. So Mass is a way that we sanctify ourselves, we prepare ourselves through the sacrifice, but then we can prepare ourselves to go out into the world and share the good news and bring other people to Jesus. So it's the first step in preparing ourselves to do our mission of evangelization, of
Hmm.
reaching out to the world. We need the grace that comes from worshiping and sacrificing in Mass to then go out in the world. So
Hmm.
it's the second part. It's the follow on to our liturgy that's why it's different than the Mass. I'm granted the Mass is the high point of our faith.
Yeah.
We need to do that. It's our way of worshiping God, thanking God for everything that He has given us, but then also being part of that sacrifice of Jesus to the Father.
Yeah, that's it's as you mentioned, the mass is where we're offering ourselves, and you said that it's like the preparation for evangelization, and then the procession is actually the evangelization aspect of it, sharing it with our community. And it's like we said earlier, it's so amazing that we do this following the mass.
And it's significant to do it after a Mass.
Yeah.
It's symbolic of how the Mass is a preparation for then taking it out.
Hmm.
So to do this back to back is significant for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. Just connecting those two and making the prayer having a longer time in prayer and it's evangelizing. When we evangelize, it can be kind of hard to like remember that we're supposed to be like prayerful in our evangelization. It's not just sharing facts. It's sharing our faith and what we believe and like praying about it when we're sharing our faith with others. It's not just
You're sharing why Jesus is important to you,
Mhm.
right? But we're also, because we don't know where people have walked, we don't know where they are. We're meeting them where they're at.
Mhm.
So the procession is the concept of meeting people where they're at. All right. It's a little bit symbolic of that. And some people, people are at different stages of their faith journey, and you have to meet them where they're at
Yeah.
and help them take that next step, getting closer to God and praying, making God a part of their life. And that's one procession is just one of those ways of doing that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that you pointed out that meeting people where they're at. Like, yeah, we're meeting people in the streets of Miami Spring. That's where they are at. They're going to lunch. They're
Yep,
having whatever. We're meeting them where
that's
they're
right.
at. You don't have to come to church to like first hear about it. We'll come to you. Like,
You have to meet them first where they're at with the truth, with the good news, and then invite them. But
hmm
you can't just go invite them. You have to,
hmm
because you don't know if they're ready for that or
hmm
where they're at. And maybe it's not today that you invite them, but maybe it's tomorrow.
yeah, this just makes evangelization so hard, so challenging.
But it's all in God's time.
Yeah.
You plant the seeds, you witness the love and sacrifice
hmm
that Jesus gave. And then, when people could see that and might be attracted by that, and then they'll start asking, and, they might, when they're very ready, they're ready. But they have to make that personal commitment themselves.
Yeah.
You cannot force that out on them. So, this is just one way of showing them who Jesus is and the love that Jesus can bring. And invite them at the time that's appropriate.
Hmm.
But again, meeting them where they're at.
Yeah, and that's what Jesus does for us. He meets us where we're at.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's
Throughout the Bible,
yeah.
the New Testament, Jesus is, he meets the woman at the well. He the road to Emmaus, he went out to them and walked with them
Mm,
because
yeah,
they were walking away from Jerusalem. They were walking away from the Lord, and he helped them turn them around and bring them back. So it takes getting out.
that's so amazing. That's so beautiful. Thank you for pointing out some biblical references. And yeah, it's our faith is so deeply rooted in so many things in the Bible, in history. It's not just we didn't just make this up. It's not just we pulled it out of thin air and we're just like, procession might be cool. Like
Yeah.
it's no, there's history and meaning to it.
There's a reason for it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say to someone who may not fully understand Eucharistic devotion?
So, it gives us an opportunity to thank God and to praise God and to listen to God so that we can understand His will, right? But
Hmm.
it is through Jesus' suffering, death, and resurrection. He destroyed death. He saved us from our sins. He's given us new life. He's given us eternal life, and we can never be thankful enough for that. And so it's through this devotion of the real presence that we can encounter Jesus and get the graces to avoid sin and to get closer to Him and to do His will. I mean, if anything, we're expected to do God's will, and this is our way of connecting with Jesus, encountering with Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. It's one part of our faith that like no other Christian denomination has, and it's
Mhm.
so important that we are worshiping the real presence, and because that is Jesus, and it is a little unfortunate that we have like people who just don't understand that
Yeah,
it's more than just a piece of bread. It's
and
truly our Lord.
And for those that don't understand, that's when Jesus pulls out a Eucharistic miracle that reminds people,
Mhm.
thank you. Always thankful to St. Carlo Acutis for
Yes.
starting a website that documents all these Eucharistic miracles. And if we ever forget, we can go to that website and remind ourselves of, yes, there are documented occurrences of Jesus's real presence
Yeah.
that he would target people that didn't believe and this help them believe. So
Yeah, it's so amazing that we have all of those resources gathered into one spot. St. Carlo Acutis, I'm so like it's such a blessing that he was recently canonized in
mhm.
this world that we
Right.
are currently
This,
living in.
he had an amazing devotion to the Eucharist.
Mhm.
You read stories about him and
Yeah.
his time in front of the Blessed Sacrament.
Mhm.
And he couldn't understand why don't more people do this.
Yeah.
I know all the Fulton Sheen's going to be beatified this fall,
Yeah.
and he told all of the seminarians, if you do anything in their case, he said an hour a day in front of the Blessed Sacrament. That might not be practical for all of us, but working in some regular devotion to that is a wonderful thing, and keeps us ordered and focused on God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is the true presence. And that hour a day, you're spending that hour a day with Jesus. Whatever time anybody can give to being in the presence of the Lord is all.
Our parish namesake, he made a point that in fact, he ended up doing a lot of work with it during the time that he would spend in front of the Blessed Sacrament, in front of the presence. He would do some, his work. I mean, he was obviously an incredible writer and
Mhm.
communicator, but he spent a significant amount of time each day in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and including doing some of his work that way.
Yeah, and that's
And you see the fruit of that.
yeah. He St. John Paul II is truly amazing, and his works that he has, like things that he has written, is truly beautiful. And yeah, he did do some of it in the presence of the Lord, and
Yeah.
it's truly inspiring. Like you can get a lot of fruit from being with being with Jesus. So how can parishioners continue to grow in love for the Eucharist beyond this event? It can be one of those things where like you get on this spiritual high and you're like, this is so amazing. And then you go home and you go back to your regular job, your regular life, like the day-to-day things, and you can kind of forget the experience of this beautiful Eucharistic procession. So yeah, how can parishioners continue to grow? in their devotion for the Eucharist.
Just mentioned probably the main part, and that is regular time in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Whatever you think you might be able to do, whether it's, daily would certainly be wonderful, but more practically weekly, monthly, but just time in front of the Blessed Sacrament, either in, there are opportunities in our parish. I know that, for example, on Monday nights at Our Lady of Good Hope, they have Eucharistic exposition. St. Henry once a month on first Fridays. There's exposition, but also even St. Mary's. The church is open during a weekday from, I believe it's 8 to 1, and the area of the Blessed Sacrament behind the altar is just a beautiful place to go, and it's to sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament and listen. Don't feel obligated to pray, or you can say prayers if you want, but at the same time, just spend time listening. And it's a totally different feeling when you're listening in front of the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah.
And at first you might say, I'm not getting anything out of this, but that's one thing that the more you do it, the more you realize, okay, God speaking to me here. And I know sometimes when my brain's really I got all these things that okay, what should I really do today or this week, or what's really important? Sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament for an hour, suddenly everything clarifies as far as what's important, priorities and things. So, your life can never be so busy that you can't make that time, because having that time is going to help you sort that out. So it's both growing love for the Eucharist, but also contemplating God and His presence and where He can, help direct you in your life. So whatever regular time you can make, and that's going to be different with all. Now, I would even encourage people, if they want more, that in other times that our parish will be able to offer. You can check, with other parishes in the area. There are some that have, there's a few that even have 24-hour Eucharistic adoration that they have people sign up for, but they do make their churches or adoration chapels available. So I even encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
We're a universal church. And, wherever you might be traveling, wherever you might be in the area, whatever time works for you, find another church. Look at the bulletins online. They all say when they have adorations.
Yeah, absolutely. We are, I've said on this podcast before, but we are truly blessed to be in an area in the country that has Catholic churches everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not a shortage of churches, and there's endless opportunities for anyone to just either go to church and just spend time in front of the Eucharist, in front of the tabernacle, or in exposition. And there's so many opportunities, and so many churches in our area and in our parish family, plenty of opportunities. And everybody's life is busy, but there's whatever time you can give to being with Jesus present.
It's making a priority, realizing that, to help order our life, the best way to do God's will means ordering our life according to God's plan and God's will. And we make it harder on ourselves by trying to do all ours.
Yes.
If you get too busy, take some time for the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah.
And it'll get all sorted out. And do that regularly, and you'll see a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody who that may be causing anxiety for, stop what you're doing and go spend time with the Lord. It can be kind of nerve-wracking to step away from all of the things that you think you have to do, but prioritizing time with the Lord and what you can is truly important. And it's so helpful for, like you said, for ordering the rest of your life. So, well, thank you, Mike, for joining us today and talking to us about the Eucharistic Procession. Very happy to have you here and give us a little bit of more insight on the Eucharistic Procession, especially this past year's procession. So this procession is it's truly a gift for our parish family and for the church. And it's a visible reminder that Jesus is not distant, not abstract, not hidden away. He is with us, and He walks with us, and He is meeting us where we're at. So yeah, thank you again, Mike, for sharing your heart and your leadership in helping bring this powerful moment to life. If you were there, we hope this conversation helps you relive it. And if you weren't able to make this procession, we hope it inspires you to join us next year. So let us continue to deepen our love for the Eucharist, not just in processions, but in every Mass, every moment of prayer, and every encounter with Christ. So yeah, thank you for listening. Until next time, God bless.